In this video, we're going to go over how to solve proportions when one or two parts of the proportion involve multiple pieces to their expressions. Let me show you what I mean. It says solve, and then we've got a proportion where each numerator, it appears, has more than one term in it. So how do we deal with this? We still cross multiply like normal, but something to recognize is that this entire numerator is y minus 7. So when I cross multiply, I'm not just going to multiply 5 by the y, or 5 only by the negative 7. You're multiplying 5 by the entire numerator. So what I like to do is put parentheses around the y minus 7, like so. And the 2y plus 1, because that'll be multiplied by 4. Now you cross multiply like normal. So 5 times y minus 7 becomes 5 times y minus 7. Don't do out the mental math, just set yourself up nicely so the problem becomes easier to solve. Then we're going to do 4 times 2y plus 1. Again, cross multiplying, where you're cross multiplying this and those two terms right there. That's the most important part. A lot of students make errors where they're just saying, oh, I'll just multiply the 5 by the y. It's 5 times the entirety of the numerator, 4 times all of that numerator. So get that idea down well and you'll be in good shape. So now we're going to just solve the normal equation. So no big deal here. So I'm going to multiply by the 5. So it's 5y minus 35. Distributing right there, right? And we're going to distribute on the right-hand side. 4 times 2y, 4 times 1. 4 times 2y is 8y. 4 times plus 1 is plus 4. Now we've just got a simple old equation to solve. I'm going to get the 5y to this side. So I subtract 5y just to keep things positive. So that leaves me with a negative 35 on the left side, a 3y on the right-hand side, plus 4. Solving, still subtract 4 from both sides, not bad. So that leaves me with negative 39 is equal to 3y. And now I'm just going to divide both sides by 3. So negative 39 divided by 3 is negative 13. So I have negative 13 is equal to y. And that's it. And you could plug your answer in and check that both sides end up equaling the same exact simplified fraction, and they do. We're going to go to one more example just to repeat this idea, but this time you have the terms with, well, multiple terms in the denominator. It doesn't change what you do. I might suggest, just like we do in word problems and other places where we have one tiny little new step to do, that you practice just getting to this step on like 4 or 5 straight problems. So go from here to here and then stop. And then go from there to the next step and then stop. And go down the line like that on 3 or 4 problems, maybe 4 or 5 problems. Then go back and solve through on the older algebra. It's a good way to practice that new part and make sure that you've committed to your mind the concept of multiplying all of this by whatever it's being multiplied by. Okay, so let's cross multiply again. I like to put parentheses around the multiple terms. 3 times that, 7x times negative 2. 3 times all of this is negative 5x plus 1. Write it all out. Don't try to do it out mentally. That will prevent you from making the silly mistake of not distributing, and that would be super silly. 7x times negative 2. I'm going to write that out as well. And now we'll simplify and solve. Not so bad. So we'll distribute. 3 times negative 5x is negative 15x. 3 times positive 1 is positive 3. And this is negative 14x. Ooh. So all we now need to do is isolate x. So I'll get negative 15x over there by adding 15x. Just a normal equation now that we're solving that you've gotten so good at, of course. So we add 15x to the negative 15x. They cancel out. You're left with 3 equals negative 14x plus 15x is x. It's a beautiful thing. So the moral of the story here, peeps, when you have a proportion where you have multiple terms anywhere in a numerator or denominator, my advice would be to put parentheses around it, group that, so that you remember that you're multiplying by the entire grouping of that expression. And then don't simplify in your first multiplication step so that you remember in the next step to use the distributive property correctly. Now, of course, go and rock some more problems on this as you go on with more comfort with this skill, I hope.